Hello and welcome to an SGR video review. Yes, even though it's a blizzard and freezing cold outside, I'm here to do this review. We are going to actually be reviewing Tales of Zestiria. So, first thing you notice, it's the cover's pretty nice. You got a nice little back here. And we always like to do this. On the side, you have very nice markings here. So you can kind of see how we have these nice little tabs here, and then they get kind of filled in, especially right here. So this is obviously the walkthrough because it's the biggest part. But the navigation from the side when the book is closed is very, very nice. You don't have to worry about these bookmarks. These are just for me when I'm doing the review. So, when you first open it up, when you first kind of see it, it's really nice. The USPS kind of destroyed mine. So, like all good things, it starts off very nicely with the game system. And all the sections come up with very nice artwork like this. So the game system kind of gives you, the basic rundown of how shops and combat and all that stuff works. It's overall, I don't know if you're going to actually be able to see that, but you can kind of see here where we got like map actions and gives you a little bit more there. What I found about this portion is where you would think that they would actually kind of go in detail on the battle system, because let's face it, Tales games have a kind of complex battle system, and if you take a couple days off, or even if you're like right now, if you're on vacation with the family, sometimes you kind of forget some of those things. You forget some of the nuances. It kind of skims it, but it doesn't really go in a whole lot of depth onto it. It does a good job of breaking down other aspects. Here's how you save, here's how you handle inventory management, here's how you swap characters in and out. That kind of basic stuff is good, but it doesn't really dive into and help you as far as giving you tactics and using the combat system to your advantage. So that part felt a little let down. Otherwise, overall, it was pretty decent. And like I said, all of the nice little sections here start off with some pretty nice artwork. So in the characters section, you're going to get, a little brief overview of, let's see if I can get the camera to zoom in. Come on, camera. There we go. So you get a nice little overview of what the character is, their fighting style, and then you also get, nice little charts over here that kind of details, not really details, but it kind of gives you a little brief overview of some of their battle mechanics. It's alright. If you play the game a little bit, it actually get a lot more in the game. You start learning that and going through the leveling. The bulk of this guide, as I said by the little tab here, is the walkthrough. This is the part that I'm about 50-50 on this. So, as you can see, there is what looks to be a lot of information. You have some nice tips on the side, you have some little screenshots of what's going on, and then you have some tips and what's all, the battle systems and what's going to be happening. High level overview, it's pretty good. It gets you from point A to point B. And it does it fairly effortlessly. The one thing I will also point out is that in here, you can see how right above my middle finger, sorry, right there. So right here, there's a little 2, okay? So that correlates to a map marker. So if I were to pull up this one, you have a nice little number 2 right here. So that kind of tells you, in your walkthrough, it correlates to a map that's further on down the line, kind of like this. So here you got, this is a little bit better. So you can kind of see that there's numbers here, and then you have the map that it kind of correlates to. That equals a lot of flipping. So you'll be reading the guide, find something, then you have to flip to find the map, find out where the number correlates, and then kind of view that. The other issue I had with this is that it is spoilerific. Like if I just come back to another one of those pages, you can see there's a lot of text here, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. You can see screenshots, and what happens is you'll be reading along, and all suddenly they just drop in a spoiler. Here's what's going to happen next. Look out for this because this happens next. And to me, that was a problem because all of a sudden I'm getting the game ruined for me. So I don't know how far into all this data I should be reading, and to get what I need to handle my current portion and not get a spoiler. The other thing is that the maps, even though they look like there's a lot, right? I mean, this looks, you got all these like little markers here, and there's all these numbers, and you got a little bit of information here. I found that there was chests missing, or there was a boss location that just never showed up. So you're if you're trying to use this to get around, yeah, you can get around. But if you're going to use the map to find all the hidden stuff, or get the chests, or go farm something, this isn't really going to work. And if you're a fan of spoilers, you're going to love it. If you're not a fan of spoilers, let's face it, it's rough. The other aspect that I really had to struggle with was the boss section. The boss battles never really got detailed. So this right here is the boss fight. This over here is how to do the boss fight. Here's a little bit of tips. Here's your spoilers. You know, to me, especially with a Tales game, there should be a lot more information here on the bosses and how to tackle the bosses, strategies you want, maybe, your party layout that you want to come in with, some items you want to bring in with you, something other than just here's what's going to happen, have at it. And, just a little bit more information. You have hit points, the links, the weaknesses, and resistances. Yeah, that's enough to kind of get you started, but am I going to have multiple phases going on? Am I going to have to look out for something? It's just so lacking in that aspect. Once you get through, so here's all the walkthrough, the main walkthrough. It's, I don't know, about 100 pages or so, 120 pages. You get into the optional stuff. So this is all the side quests and optional content. And really, if you just open up to it, this is what it is. It's basically a listing of monsters, their hit points. Again, here's your optional bosses. But it doesn't really tell you where to find all the optional bosses. And if you're going to have optional bosses, have a little something. Give me some more detail other than just here's what it is. And it kind of tells you with the little location, it kind of gives you a little bit of a location here. But having this information just tied to the maps would be nice. This is great because it gives you something to kind of start formulating a battle plan. You have specific, the bison head is a level 47, so at least I have an idea of what I should be looking at before I go try to tackle these optional bosses. But having them kind of in where I would find them would be great in the maps, so I knew what I would want to do, and then I could bookmark that. The last little bit is data. They call it data. So this is where you're going to find all things considered, monsters, items. What else did they have in here? Yeah, so we had bosses. You got short swords. So here's how your kind of weapon layout's going to look. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the camera to actually zoom in on that. Oh yeah, there it goes. So this is where you're going to, if you're going to try to buy something, if you want to figure out if something's good or bad, this is where you're going to. This is essentially where you're going to go, and shop items. So there's a lot of stuff here. They did get a fair amount of information in here, but there was still stuff missing. Like I said, there were chests that I couldn't find. The certain bosses just never showed up. You never had a listing anywhere in here, even if you went to that, the optional content. You couldn't really find them there either. My other big issue with this was that it ends up being a lot of navigating. And I think part of my problem was that my last Tales guide was Tales of Zestiria 2. And that guide was awesome. It was absolutely fantastic. Very well put together. There's so much going back and forth. If you're over here, you're like, okay, here's the Meadow of Triumph. Okay, well, now I need to go over into the optional content and then go read through all of the bosses to see if there's something there. I have to go look in through the monsters to see what is maybe going to be there. What should I be looking out for? I ended up actually going online a couple times just to find out, make sure that if I was doing an area that I would go and look to make sure that I wasn't missing a chest or something. So, is a high-level overview. this is pretty solid as far as that is concerned. If you're a completionist and you want to find everything in your that whole I'm going to explore every nook and cranny, and you want to prepare before going into boss battles and all that jazz, this is going to be a massive letdown. I really, I was so middle of the road on this, because it got me from point A to point B. It got me through the game, but I also had to utilize other resources in order to, finish the game and get more of that completion feel. And like I said, comparing this to Tales of Xillia 2 is just no comparison. Tales of Xillia 2 was a great guide. This is just a okay guide. I don't know that it's in. They say this is a $40 book. So to have that kind of information lacking and have maps not showing me everything, have the walkthrough, which you're going to spend most of your time with there anyway, and have that missing stuff is kind of inexcusable for that price point. So overall, should you buy this guide? Go to the bookstore and look through it. If you're a hardcore Tales fan, this is not going to be a recommended one. If you're brand new to Tales, this kind of gives you a primer on it, but don't really look forward to, don't expect to have it hold your hand like we would expect a strategy guide to do, to kind of give you all that information. So, all that being said, I am going to give the Tales of Zestiria strategy guide by Prima Games a 2.5 out of 5. Sorry, just gotta be the way that it is. And with that, I hope that you had great holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Solstice, if that's your thing. And we hope that you have a very good 2016 plan. So, with that, I'm out. Peace.